What's up, dudes? My name is Nick. Welcome back for another K-pop news video. We're going to be talking a little bit about, I suppose this is a nerdy topic, but the posted profits for some K-pop companies in the second quarter of 2017. We're going to go into the numbers, comparison to other companies last year, you know, and potentially, of course, the reasons, and just give my sort of take on that. So let's pretty much dive into it right now. And of course, as the title of this video probably says, I haven't quite decided just yet, but the JYP Entertainment has posted up the highest profits of the second quarter by a large margin, raking in a huge $6 million of profit. That's compared to the 1.2 million that SM brought in and the 3.8 million that YG brought in themselves. I don't really have numbers for anybody else, but those are the big three companies, and that those are kind of the most, I suppose, relevant. And that is spectacular. Those are just absolutely massive numbers. In the first half of this year, I guess, JYP Entertainment has sold basically 600,000 total copies of Twice albums and 350,000 albums coming from GOT7, which has more basically, they would say, met their sales volume for the entirety of last year. They're only halfway through, so that's really good. Obviously, kind of would make sense that if they were to release anything else from either of those groups, then they would just like continue to just increase and just make more money, obviously. And it's pretty big right there. And it all, you know, of course, makes a lot of sense to me, at least, right? That JYP of the group of all of these companies is posting up these ridiculous numbers like this. Of course, ridiculous in relation to all of the other companies. And you got to kind of consider that they've got GOT7, who apparently is not as popular as Twice. I mean, obviously they're not as popular as Twice, but you know, they're a very popular boy group, and they've been, you know, obviously established and at whatever level that they're at currently for quite a few years. So I mean, 350,000 albums. I think they've only released one album, I believe, this year so far. So that's a pretty significant number right there. But of course, Twice is just without a doubt the money printing machine over at JYP. And GOT7 is too, but obviously to a much lesser degree. And to be completely honest, and the reason why I think that, or the reason that I believe that this is the profits and the, you know, financial condition of all three of these companies is where they're at, is honestly because JYP only has GOT7 and Twice as major groups that they are promoting heavily. And JYP has got a couple, you know, solo singers and all that stuff who are like, I don't know, I guess they're trying to figure out what to do with them, but we haven't seen a, you know, significant or hefty amount of promotion from them. So expense wise, like they've invested pretty heavily into promoting or into producing content and music and albums and all that stuff into, you know, a couple of times so far for their two main groups. And then, you know, they just fired up the printing press and started printing money for fun, and they haven't had, I guess, expenses to the same amounts that SM Entertainment and YG have in when it comes to promoting and just making things happen for groups that probably aren't really that well, you know, established, that well off, who aren't going to just rake in the massive amounts of money. And to consider that SM is you know, releasing one song, maybe a music video a week with their station series, so they're spending money on that to a certain extent. I don't really know how much they're spending on as far as like promoting it, but they definitely are. There are production costs that are associated with those songs and music videos and all that other stuff that's associated with it. They've got, I mean, every group that they've got except for Shiny, I believe, has released some song, an album, a mini album, a single or something like that this year as well. So they've got like, what, 5-6 groups or something that they're, you know, working on making stuff happen. There could be more coming from those groups as well before the end of the year. I wouldn't be surprised if that was actually the case. So it's, I mean, it's kind of the case. I think that the costs and the expenses that, you know, companies like SM and YG have are currently a little bit higher than what JYP has got. Of course, those groups are not like, they're not Twice levels of popular necessarily. EXO has sold, like, I think I actually did see that they have sold, what, 600,000 copies of The War. So they're definitely going to see a pretty hefty boost, I think, coming up in quarter 3, because that's what quarter we're in. That's what quarter that album was in, was released, and that's when those sales numbers are going to reflect in their, you know, financial report. And you know, YG has been kind of doing the same thing. They haven't released anything from Blackpink just yet. I mean, YG's actually been relatively quiet so far. So I'm expecting, of course, YG's gonna like basically just shoot out everyone they possibly can in the next quarter or 2, you know, the next half of the year, and that's when they're going to post their insane numbers potentially, because Blackpink is successful. Their debut music video just recently hit 200 million views on YouTube, which is the first debut music video to ever do that. Twice has not yet, I don't believe, but which is pretty significant. So Blackpink, I think, is, you know, potentially rivals with Twice on popularity levels, and they very well could, and I definitely would predict that they would generate sales and profits on a similar level that Twice would. And you know, YG just has a huge, you know, stable of singers and groups that will generate some amount of profit coming up in the future, and they haven't released anything just yet. So, you know, despite the fact that YG, you know, what is it, Winner? I don't even remember who else has released anything this year from YG off the top of my head. I should have done the research for that, but I did not. But, you know, considering that, and they've posted up $3.8 million in profit in the second quarter, pretty significant right there. But of course, it's not real. All of this isn't necessarily taking into account the fact that, you know, YG, SM, JYP, any other K-pop company is also the manager and the intermediary between promoting or, you know, making other commercial things happen. So, you know, when an idol is the face of a brand or the brand representative or something like that, then the company's getting a little cut of that as well. So, you know, apparently, I suppose YG is pretty heavy into, you know, other alternative revenue streams that are not necessarily associated with releasing music, where apparently either SM is spending all of their money or a good majority of their money, or they're just not particularly diverse when it comes to their income. I don't know specifically. I'm not into the business end of it that much, but it is definitely very, very interesting seeing how all of this is working. If JYP does, if we do, probably, because I think that it is definitely likely that we'll get another release from GOT7 and Twice before the end of the year. And if they also kind of figure out what they're doing with, you know, some of the members of Miss A, Wonder Girls, whatever solo acts that they've got going on there, then they could definitely post a little bit more, you know, profit up, you know, coming up, and increase their numbers from the first half of the year so far. Which, in fact, I do think that there's a Sunmi song coming within the next week or 2, so that's going to be a very interesting sort of thing. So I'm not really surprised by the fact that JYP has posted numbers like this large. I'm not surprised by it, because at least in my mind, granted, I don't know specifically, but their costs as far as production and promotion and other things like that are not necessary. They're not necessarily as heavily invested in making things happen like SM Entertainment is and YG Entertainment is. So that's my take at the very least. So it's good to see, of course, that K-pop companies are, you know, producing some pretty hefty amounts. I'm interested. I would honestly be interested in potentially seeing what smaller companies are posting. I might have to see if I can look into and find those numbers. It would be a very, very interesting thing, and we could potentially, of course, talk about that in an upcoming video, probably when I get back from KCON. But that's, for now, that is all the information that I have got for you today. So that's all I got to say and share with this one. It's very, very interesting. I honestly enjoy looking at this stuff and looking at the reasons for it. So obviously JYP is just booming off the back of Twice. SM Entertainment and YG, they just recently released, you know, big name, you know, music from their big names. So those numbers aren't going to be reflected in their, you know, in their books just yet. YG, of course, hasn't released anything from anyone particularly noteworthy. Although I say noteworthy in quotation marks because anyone from YG is noteworthy, but on a massive #1, who could potentially be at the #1 spot, winner maybe, I don't know specifically, but it's YG and SM have not yet hit their stride like JYP have already this year. So that's all I got to say. I want to get your guys' thoughts and opinions on this story right here. It's very, very interesting to me, at least. I don't know if it maybe if you, I don't know if you enjoy it, maybe not, who knows, but it is pretty significant, I think. So, leave your thoughts and comments and stuff like that down in the comment box below, because we want to talk about this and just in general get your general, thoughts and opinions. So, because we're trying to build a community here that is all about having a little bit of friendly and respectful discussion, whether we agree or disagree. So if that is a community that you are interested in becoming a part of, then please do consider clicking on the subscription box down, or the subscription button down below, whatever. Also, if you'd like to become a part of this community, not based on YouTube, I also do have Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you just search for me at ROK Music Review on any of those platforms, give me a follow, a like on Facebook, follow on Twitter, whatever you want to do. Then you can kind of keep up to date with a little bit more information and news. And just, of course, follow me a little bit more closely than you could as a subscription on YouTube. So do that. That would be awesome, or I would appreciate that a little bit. And that's going to be it for this video. So, as always, I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.